Hello and welcome to Creative Momentum with Meg. This is season 2, the home season, where I interview Australian writers and artists about their creativity and about what home is to them. Thank you for listening. Thank you for everyone who has reached out to me to tell me how much they loved last week's episode with Helen Garner. It means the world to me. I love hearing from you, so please do reach out to me in whichever way you want. But of course, always liking my posts and rating it and adding a comment on the show notes is always a wonderful thing. Today, I'm talking to Claire Mosley. You're going to hear from Claire Mosley. She's an artist and an educator in Melbourne. She lives on the Merri Creek in Wurundjeri country. She works primarily in watercolour and she uses her art to understand the world around her, which is pretty much what all creatives are doing. She always carries a sketchbook, journal, pencils, paints, and it took a while for her to realise who she is, or that that's who she is. In this episode, you're going to hear about what happens when we remove all other parts of our life and how sketching becomes the first thing that she wants to do, why size matters, and painting from real life versus photos, and what wattle sprigs taught her after surgery. She talks about her creative pathway and daily walks that her 93-year-old grandfather still takes and how important he is to her, about what a crafty community that she grew up with was so important to her, and that's the Crafty Women of Kensington. Big shout out to you if you are listening. And how building a creative identity builds slowly. For anyone who is stuck or intimidated, she gives some exercises on how to silence that critical voice and how to, find your way through that, how to keep it light. I really hope you enjoy this conversation. I loved chatting with Claire, and I will see you on the other side. A quick note, my friends, the sound and video quality on this episode aren't quite up to my usual standard. This is a one-woman show, and I am still learning as I go. Thank you for your patience and understanding. Now over to the interview with Claire.
Excellent. Thank you, Claire, for joining me on my podcast. I am very excited to talk to you about your creativity for so many reasons. We have a long history that you might know some of it or not. My sister was great mates with your mum when they were at school together, and so we have that long history. Also Kensington, where we live, and it's been so lovely watching you blossom in your creativity over the years. And so that's kind of why I wanted to chat with you about your creativity. A lot of people who listen to me are either writers or artists and curious about how other people approach their creativity. So could you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, everyone. So my name is Claire Mosley and I'm an artist and educator. I currently live near the Merri Creek in Melbourne. I'm on Wurundjeri country. I grew up near Meg in Kensington, and I've migrated a little bit further north to the north side. And art is very much part of my everyday. Creativity is part of my everyday. I always like to carry a sketchbook, a journal, in my bag, whether it's a big one or a small one. I've always got, just even right next to me, got my journal, got my pencils, got my paints. And it's become a way to understand the world, to be curious, to remember things, to ask questions. And it's just sort of what I do now. It took me a while to realize that I am someone that uses art to understand the world. Yes, that's a little introduction.
That's beautiful. You're an illustrator. Is that how you would? Is that kind of the career title you would give yourself, or much
Good
broader than that.
question. I think it's hard to put, I'm sure everyone understands if you're creative, you're usually creative in all directions. So it's hard to put one word to it. I like to say, I like artists because sometimes I'm working on paper, sometimes I'm working with video, sometimes I'll dabble with clay, sometimes with paints, with printmaking. I do a lot of painting. I do a lot of illustrating. So yeah, maybe painter is a bit more broad as well. Watercolor painter is
Yeah.
probably the medium that I use most
Yeah.
frequently.
I like artists because I think it encompasses so much more, which is what you're doing is, playing in that creative space. Those illustrations in that picture behind you, are
Yes.
they the ones from the new book that came out?
No, I've actually got the book here. I'm going to come close to the camera.
Excellent.
So this is an amazing book by Jacqueline Krupi, and I was asked to do the illustration. So I actually got to use illustrations that I already had. Like I already had this little sulfur-crested cockatoo. And then I was also asked and invited to make brand new illustrations. This beautiful jacaranda tree.
Oh,
It's an exotic garden.
yeah.
A coastal garden. So it was about 50% from my illustration bank, and then 50%, this is a food forest,
Yeah.
all new illustration. So it was very fun when they sent me the wish list to go through my archives and find, I've already got a butterfly and a caterpillar. I've already got that very specific beetle. I've already got that bird, or obviously I love painting plants as well. So there's, some beautiful spreads, and it's like a gardening Bible. It's got everything if you want a native garden. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. I love a native garden too. I am a big fan of planting local natives, but I also have now a exotic garden as well because I love the bugs and bees and whatnot that come into it. Claire, can you tell me a little bit about, whether you have a routine that you stick to on a regular basis, or is it this kind of stretchy thing that changes as it needs?
Yes, I definitely feel like it's more of a stretchy thing. When I'm on a holiday and I remove all the other parts of my life, I will sketch for a huge chunk of the day. I'll go out in the morning, make my cup of tea, sketch, which is really, I think, telling of how much it's like the first thing I want to do when there's more space. In my daily routine, it's more of a something that I do on the weekend with friends. If I'm working on a painting, I usually do that at night. Just put some music or a podcast on and just get into the groove. Sometimes I can paint for hours and just totally lose track of time. I just go to another dimension.
Flow state.
Yes, really like that flow state when I get there. I used to be very regular at keeping a nature journal. So I've done that in periods where I kind of really make it a daily practice. I'll go out to the same spot or a close spot to my house. That's if anyone does want to keep a nature journal, make it super easy. Just go in your garden, sit on your porch. If you're lucky to have a little creek or a river, just don't make it a drive away or a big walk. Just as close as you can, a tree out the window, and just document what you see there. So yeah, when I've got a bit of space, that would be a daily ritual where I just go and ask questions, make notes, do little sketches and record what's happening. It's always changing around me.
I love that. Do you, when you get an idea or say, you're asked to illustrate a book, what is the process that you would go through to go from the start to the end?
Sure, it depends what I'm illustrating. So obviously birds are really hard to paint from real life, at least unless you want to do abstract painting. So for example, with this little cockatoo here, I love a good deep Google dive and then find some images on Google that I like. I do like to print them off just so I'm not staring at a screen too much. So that's for birds or animals, because again, if I want to draw a platypus, very hard to draw from real life. So, or I might use books. I work at the Botanic Garden, so I have access to the library at the Botanic Gardens in Melbourne. So I've got a few books on loan at the moment of various plants, which is great. But plants, I can draw in real life if there's a beautiful. Actually, one of the first paintings I ever did was wattle, and it was this huge painting of wattle, and it was when I had surgery, and I just asked my friends, hey, it's wattle season, can you bring me a little sprig of wattle? And, you know, a dozen friends came over and brought me a little sprig, and I just painted all those different species of wattle from real life. And you can actually see the detail. You just notice things in real life, like looking at the flower, looking at the blossoms, that you wouldn't get from even a great quality image. So preference is always real life. And I just have my studio, have my big desk, my big paper. I like to work big. Most of my illustrations, such as this one behind me, were on an A1 sheet, so they're, you know, quite large. Yeah. So this flower here, it's this big, but it would have been about this big. I can get lots of detail in. And yeah, I just think big is better for painting.
Is that acrylic paint or
watercolour?
Watercolour.
Watercolour, yeah.
Watercolour is one of my favourite mediums.
Yeah, so flexible and bright and easy to transport.
And there's also quickly. Speed with it. You've got to keep moving with it.
Absolutely.
Don't muddy it, as my watercolour teacher would say. Like, back off, like stop before you think you've finished. Tell me where, who or what are you inspired by for your art making?
Oh, great question. I think my biggest inspiration is being outdoors. That inspiration came from a lot of people. Definitely my grandfather, he's 93 and he still goes on little daily walks. He always was going on walks. It was that simple. So my mum and I and my brother and my dad would always go up there, go for walks. That was embedded into my mum's life as well. So I'd go for walks with her. It was just like a very regular, normal thing, going for walks. And so nature's definitely, sorry, moving my camera, that's a noise. Nature's definitely a big one. And then I think back to, like, you know, my Kensington days when I knew you, Meg, like you, and also Meg Walker and just Fiona Burns, like all these like women in my life were always had a craft project on the go. They were always sewing or knitting or crocheting or collecting or sorting fabrics or going through the haberdashery drawer or teaching me how to op shop. And that was the time when I learned how great it is to have creativity and appreciate beautiful things. So I think that's sort of, first level was walking nature. Second level was, wow, what a great way to be in the world, is to collect and notice and do anything with your hands. And then it's just been refined into the practice now that I'm mainly doing, which is watercolor painting.
I love that so much, all of that. And I mean, we are very lucky to have been in this space. I'm lucky to have met, you know, Meg, the other Meg, Stace, Fiona, and Stacey, all of these, you know, beautiful creative people in our suburb, and you know, learning that art of attention, of paying attention, and it shows in your work, I will say, that deep attention. And I, you know, being a big fan of, you know, Australian natives, I love your work for all of that it brings into it as well.
Oh, thank you.
If you were to share some wisdom to someone who is maybe like feeling a bit stuck with their creativity, or maybe they're at the start of going, what do I do? How do I do it? What would you want to share? What would be your Claire's Pearls?
Claire's Pearls. Claire's Pearls. Well, a big one I find when I do workshops is people have this inner voice that says, I can't draw. I haven't drawn since primary school. It's going to be terrible. I can't draw. I'm not good at it. And I challenge those people, which is a lot of people, and it is me in certain mediums as well, to do an exercise that brings you, you're going to draw something that is wonky. So a great one that I love, it's really quick and easy. You could do it right now while you're listening to this. Non-dominant hand, draw something. Draw something with your non-dominant hand. You will try and draw a book. It will look like a boot. That's okay. Another great one is not looking at what you're drawing. So, sorry, not looking at your page. So drawing this book, I'm looking at the book and I'm sketching, but I'm not seeing the outcome. I might draw off the page. And again, you'll get something totally different, but the whole idea is loosening that muscle. And so that's sort of to
I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah.
Break down those critical voices. Like, if you haven't drawn for ages, yeah, it's going to feel weird. Mix it up. Like, I don't know, do something that's, mix it up, just like I said. And if you're starting off with watercolour, if you haven't done watercolour before, just make it fun. You can get really basic paints from art shops. Even Officeworks have good paints. You could even get watercolor pencils that you just add, you draw with a pencil and then you add some water with a brush. So a couple of pencils, a brush, some paints in some form. There's lots of different types of paint, and just have a play. Find a friend. Don't focus on the expectation. Focus on feeling what it feels like. Like, you're not going to paint a perfect flower the first time that you'll be really happy with. Like, it's a process, it's a practice, it's a muscle, and just keep going and draw things you're excited about. If you really like birds, paint a bird. If you really like surfboards, paint a surfboard. If you're really into houses, paint some bricks. I don't know. Just make it fun. That. Keep it light.
Yeah, because we get in our own way and we think, especially, if it's you're starting out and you think, oh, I need to paint and I need to paint like this artist, then we're already in our way. Instead of going, I'm just learning how to paint. I can, make some playful paintings and that's okay. And they don't need to look like the boot, the book, the whatever. What is home for you and for your creativity?
Oh, it's a good question. I think home is the Merri Creek for me. It's a chosen home. It's not where I grew up, but it's definitely the place that I feel like I know it like the back of my hand. It's a place I walk most days. I ride along the Merri Creek to work. I've worked along the Merri Creek when I worked at Ceres. All my share houses since high school have been like within walking distance from the Merri Creek. And it's that Australian bush. It's those Australian plants. It's that feeling of like tangled eucalyptus and tea tree and wattles and everything just all tangled together. And that's just the most beautiful place for me. And I'm very comfortable sitting near an ant nest, hopefully not on it, but comfortable with spiders, comfortable with, I've definitely seen snakes along my travels, and again, give them space, but I feel very, very comfortable in the bush. I've set up, I've got a little table outside that I like to do drawing at sometimes. And my body can sit down on the ground. You can also get cute little camping chairs to lean on. So for me, home is the Merri Creek. Whenever I travel, that's sort of what I imagine is like, oh, I just would love to have a little walk on the Merri Creek right now. Yeah.
Is there a scent or something that, we say when you're traveling, is there anything that recalls home for you? Or are there things that you carry with you when you travel?
Oh, I try not to carry plant material because I don't want to break any rules. I love, one of my favorite smells is actually the lemon scented gum after rain. It is so strong.
Divine.
It is so strong. It is, I think Costa actually did a video about it the other day, and he described it as like he's in a sauna being totally rolled around in this, like in this sensation. He came out of Melbourne Airport and they were there. And I was like, yes, that's the smell. That's the smell.
It's such a soothing smell for us as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so calming. And I mean, wattle's not that strong, but there's sort of that sweetness in the air when the wattles come out in like deep in winter and then into spring like that. Yeah. But I think I'm mainly a visual person over, like I love smells, but I think for me it really is those the visuals that really get me, that awe, that just like feeling really small and just being like, wow, I can't believe that was nothing and now it's everything.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. Do you have any exhibitions or any more books coming out anytime soon?
Oh, no, I'm waiting to hear back for a couple of art residencies. So I'm always applying for art residencies, crossing my fingers. I don't have any. Well, actually, my dream is to write a children's book. So TBC, to illustrate and write a children's book or collaborate on. I do have a couple of workshops coming up. They're both a bit different. One is actually sketching in a sauna. So it's like still life drawing.
Yeah, beautiful.
So still life of objects in a sauna. That's coming up on the 28th of they're all on my website, clairemosley.com. That's at Sauna Goose in Northcote. And I've got a nature journaling workshop in March in the Macedon Ranges as part of a Changemakers Festival. And yes, all my workshops are on my website. And yeah, I've got a market coming up. If you want to come to a market at Ceres in East Brunswick, I believe that's Saturday the 22nd of March. Might have to check that, but that's also on my website. So I've got markets, a couple of workshops, and I've got some new products, some new caps coming out as well with my embroidered illustrations. Yeah, should pop one on.
Yeah, you should have. I love that. We'll make sure that all of those details are in the show notes, and there'll be links to everywhere that Claire is. Thank you so much for your time, Claire. It's been so lovely talking to you about this, and that's it for now.
Great. Thank you for having me, Meg, and thanks for listening, everyone.
How good was that? I loved so many things that Claire shared in there. Her reminder for us all that creativity doesn't always have to announce itself loudly. You know, sometimes it's the quieter moments that it announces itself. And sometimes it can take a while for us to realize that we are, that I am someone who uses art to understand the world. And I can tell you from working with many creatives that it is how they do understand the world around them, and that's so important. I love the journey into her creativity, with her grandfather's walks, or walking with her grandfather, and from the being surrounded by crafty women in Kensington, the KLA, as we're known as, the Kensington Ladies Auxiliary, and her watercolour practice. I love how she shows how the creative identity can build slowly. It doesn't have to be a fast thing. It just builds slowly through those layers of influence and attention. How important is attention? Pay attention to the world around you. What's one of the things that stood out for me is that generous, playful approach to creative blocks, drawing with that non-dominant hand, sketching without looking at the page, loosening up to help quieten that critical muscle that tells us we can't draw, we can't create, and I think that's a really good thing to do. And through that, your book might look like a boot. I was showing someone the other day how I did a similar exercise. I'll show you in case you aren't interested. So the exercise was to draw something from your childhood that you liked to play with, but do it in your non-dominant hand with your eyes shut. And I did this before I chatted with Claire, which was quite interesting. And here it is. if anyone can guess what that is, I'll show you for a little bit longer. If you can guess what that picture actually is, you know, you're doing probably better even than me. So, you know, drop that in the comments if you can work out what that picture was. But it was my brain just kind of loosening up and getting a little bit playful. That exercise also came out of that fantastic book that I'm reading called Why We Play. If anyone is interested in play, this is a really great book to read. Anyway, back to Claire. You know, I guess that philosophy that she talks about in her conversation is about keeping it light. And, you know, no, I can't say that enough to people. Like, keep it light, come into this playfully, and do what excites us. So she talks about painting what excites you, whatever that is. And I would expand that to, you know, create whatever excites you. So write the stories that excite you, paint what excites you, draw what excites you, make a sculpture of what excites you. And, you know, helping that, what that can do is just help remove that pressure of perfection, and it just replaces it with curiosity. Approach it with curiosity and play. And, you know, I love her nature journaling advice of just make it super easy. You don't have to go anywhere. You could just do it in your backyard. You could do it with a pot plant. You could do it looking at a fly. All of it is nature. And, you know, I guess I also loved how Claire has kind of found her creative home along the Merri Creek. I suspect she might have found it wherever she was. She is that kind of human. So there's so many insights in that interview. I would love to hear from you. What is the big thing that you took out of this interview with Claire? So please, you know, do drop a comment in the show notes, or send me a message, add a comment to social media, wherever it is, and let me know what you took from that. I do hope you enjoyed this conversation. I will put all of Claire's details in the show notes as usual, and she's got some workshops coming up, so I'll pop those in, and markets and her website. If you liked this episode, please do like, share, subscribe, follow, do all the things. It helps other creatives find their way into their creativity. Until next time, keep building your own creative momentum. Thanks for listening.